Hey everybody, it's writer and director Len Kabasinski of Killer Wolf Films, and welcome to a new installment of my Fist of the Filmmaker podcast. And this show, if you've been around before, I just kind of update stuff, what's going on, maybe talk about some experiences I've had in indie film over the last, now it's 20 years, right? 2024, yeah, Swamp Zombies 1, wow. If you haven't seen it, we'll get back to that. But first off, if you're watching this on Patreon, thank you so much. It is the best way to support my works. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, consider going and checking out Patreon. It's patreon.com/killerwolffilms. It's only $2 to join. $5 level, I'll send you a poster. I'll sign it if you want, if you're in the US, that kind of thing. If you're overseas or something, message me and we'll figure out what postage is and all that crazy stuff in post-COVID times. Anyways, you know, on my Patreon site, all my films are on there. Downloadable, watch them when you want kind of thing. They're all pretty much on there. But, which brings me to today's podcast episode. Anybody that's been on the Patreon knows Patreon exclusive now is my movies have been upscaled to 4K. Lots of them, and then some are still in process and stuff. If you haven't checked it out, Swamp Zombies 2 that was made, wow, like 6 some years ago now, something like that. Anyways, 2017, wow, 7 years ago. Wow, where's my brain been? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Swamp Zombies 2 was the first one to get upscaled. I think it looks pretty sharp. That's for you to decide, not me. Sure, that film's on Tubi and all those other places you can check it out, but the only place to see the upscaled 4K version is patreon.com/killerwolffilms. So don't take it from me. Take it from some other patrons and viewers and things like that. If you've seen the Swamp Zombies 2 upscaled to 4K, let me know what you think. Chime in on Patreon, chime in on the YouTube channel. Let others know what you thought about it, kind of thing, and we can go from there. So Swamp Zombies 2's up. That's there now to download, watch when you want kind of thing. Next up, I'm thinking May 1st is going to be one of my older films that's going to debut in a 4K upscale. It will be Fist of the Vampire, which is now 17 years old, something like that. So that was made in, I think it was released in 2007, made a little bit before that, but yeah, roughly. So that's up next, May 1st. Fist of the Vampire upscaled to 4K, debuting on patreon.com/killerwolffilms. So special thanks to Matt from the Salty Nerd podcast. If you haven't checked out his channel on YouTube or checked out his stuff, look up Salty Nerd. He's on Twitter, all those places. Check him out. He's the one that was instrumental at saying, hey, Len, we can do this. Let's work on, upscaling these things, get them out there again. And yeah, I think for something like a Swamp Zombies 1 or a Curse of the Wolf or a Fist of the Vampire, especially those early films that were all shot on, we're talking, the Panasonic DVX100A, mini DV, standard def camera. The DVX was, I think, pretty instrumental back when it was released 20 some years ago now, because it was the first one that really, 24p's a thing. We can make it kind of look like more film, but only film looks like film. But at the same time, it was the first to kind of emulate those things, I think, better than a lot of what we would call prosumer, right? Prosumer cameras that you get at Best Buy or whatever. I think the DVX100A did a good job. And I mean, we shot Curse of the Wolf, Fist of the Vampire, some of Apocalypse Female Warriors or Warriors the Apocalypse. Don't support that version. It sucks. The people that have it haven't given me a statement in 20 years. So private message me on that kind of thing. But yeah, anyways, see the Apocalypse Female Warriors version if you can. And I know it's on Patreon, and it's going to be coming in 4K as well to Patreon. So down the road. But that was shot on it, and I think Wendigo, Bound by Blood, was shot on the DVX100A, and I think that was probably the last one we shot on it, if my mind serves me correct. Because I think we went into Ninja Prophecy of Death, and I believe that was shot on the Canon HV40, I think, which was, maybe it was, the only high definition mini DV camera where it shot to tapes. It didn't last very long, but Skull Forest, Ninja was shot on that. Blood Mercury was shot on that. And then we got to Angel and we went up from there kind of thing. Angel was, I think, the GL20, which was a pretty sharp looking camera. Wait till you see that in 4K. Angel's coming. All those things are coming and some are in process there. But May 1st, like I said, Fist of the Vampire's coming. And I really think the upscale really is what did those the best. I think when you're going to see eventually here a film that I was leafing through the other day, Hellcat's Revenge 1, that upscaled to 4K, I think it looks pretty sharp. But I think it's critical to take those old standard definition ones that was shot on. I mean, Swamp Zombies was the GL2, Canon GL2, mini DV, standard def camera, that kind of thing. Nice camera, just not great to shoot a movie on, but I've been there. So you end up with 50 mini DV tapes, and you got to download them in real time, an hour, as you sit there and upload each tape and stuff. Yeah, whew, those are days, right? But yeah, all those were upscaled. My newer ones we'll work on, but we kind of went through the older library first kind of thing. Newer ones, I mean, the Blood Prism, well, Pact of Vengeance is already in 4K. That was my last film I just shot with the late Leo Fong and John Michael and stuff. So that was shot in 4K on the Blackmagic Pocket 4K camera there. And then we use some 35, 85, and 24 millimeter lenses for Pact of Vengeance. And then we go into, like I said, Swamp Zombies 2, which is up there now. Swamp Zombies, Challenge of 5 Gauntlets, Hellcat's Revenge 2. Those are all shot on the same camera. Those will be upscaled as well to 4K. So I think those are going to look kind of sharp when we get there, but we'll get to those down the road. But like I said, next up, Fist of the Vampire. And then the next one up we'll probably release in maybe like midsummer or so. And I'm thinking the way it's going, it might be Swamp Zombies 1 or Curse of the Wolf. So we'll get to that bridge soon enough. But yeah, it's been fun to look back and see these things. I thought when we upscaled them to 4K, I'm thinking, oh man, this gives me a chance to maybe edit some stuff, tighten them up a little bit, those kinds of things. And then as I got to thinking, I thought, well, I think people might enjoy these films for what they are. And that we're talking flaws and, those kinds of things, obviously, as well. And I thought, no, I'm not going to edit them. I'll leave them the same and put them up there on Patreon. It's really the only place you're going to see them in 4K right now. That's not to say I wouldn't sign a distro deal with some of the older films down the road here. Something like Wendigo and those kinds of things. I think you could see them eventually come to something like Tubi and stuff like that. I'm talking with a distro about it, but right now, that hasn't happened yet, and we'll see what happens there. So I think it'd be something, to get the older works out there, even if it's something like Tubi, which has really become the Amazon Prime of 6-7 years ago, right? When Amazon Prime was like, holy shit, there's this giant library here of all this cool stuff, some of this stuff we've never heard of and stuff. Well, now Tubi's, I think, taken that spot. But as we know, everything is cyclical, and we'll see how long Tubi holds that mantle for before we're saying it's Screambox or, whatever. But yeah, I think the early films I'd like to see just get out there and people can enjoy them for what they are. But we'll see what happens there. Newer things on the horizon. Yes, I'm in process of writing Fear the Crimson Mask, which is a slasher film set in the world of professional wrestling. I don't really have a timetable when to shoot that yet. Pact of Vengeance, which was my most, obviously biggest film I've ever done, which shot a couple years ago now and was released a year or so ago. But that was really draining, both physically and mentally. Especially with me, I'm always lifting weights, doing karate. I have my own school now where I teach at Iron Phoenix. Those kinds of things, a lot of mental and physical, just draining out of me kind of thing. But I feel like I'm getting those that creative spirit back a little bit. So I'm writing Fear the Crimson Mask. I'd say the writing is about 60 to 70% done now for it. I've talked to some people about different ideas for the ending of the film and certain parts to it, because we always want to make it, or I always want to make it so that it's a doable feature. And I know I have people talking to me about AI. Hey, you can pack an arena now. In the old days, you put cardboard cutouts in the arena if you had $1 million budget, like Warrior did 12, 13 years ago, whatever that was. They filmed at the Peterson Events Center in Pittsburgh, where Pitt University basketball plays, and had this big MMA match at the end. Well, they couldn't get any extras to come out. So what did they do? They ended up filling all these cardboard cutouts. I'm sure Bernie was there. Weekend of Bernie was somewhere sitting in the audience, but just be funny, right? But yeah, that's what you had to do. And now they're telling me, well, Len, if you have this end of your film where it's in this wrestling arena and crazy fans are cheering with holding up their signs and stuff, we might be able to do that in AI now. And I thought, oh man, I can't wrap my mind around that yet. How do we shoot this? Do I have to green screen around the ring? What do I have to do? So those kinds of things I'm still learning about, because I don't want to make it where the end of the film just isn't doable, or I'm just using a shit ton of cutaways to people cheering with their signs, but you never see them interact with the wrestlers that are going to be in the ring and stuff like that. So I'm figuring out the options for the ending to make the film its best kind of thing. I think it's pretty fun right now. I've really went back to like Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees type films, just to kind of see, what's our death count in these movies? What are people expecting out of these kinds of slasher pictures and things like that? And not that I didn't know it, but now I got a new appreciation for it. You get a film like Jason Lives and like 5 or 6 people die in the film. There's a slasher picture, right? And I thought, okay. So I go to some other, Mary Lou Prom Night or all these other kind of slasher style pictures. And I'm thinking, okay, what's our death count? What do people expect? What's the running time of these? Especially in micro budget indie land, I want to hang around 75, 80 minutes, or that Roger Corman golden 84-minute mark, to go to direct to video for New Horizons or whatever, right? So, so I'm pretty aware of that going into this picture, being that Fear the Crimson Mask is obviously a action picture as well. It's going to be hard to determine how many scenes make up an 80-minute film, without padding it with credits and things like that. I mean, we take into account that, but at the same time, it could be like a 32-scene film, and in the old days, they were like, well, it's a minute, a page of script per minute of film. Well, that doesn't work in an action movie. You can have a 40-scene action movie, and it's full of fight scenes and stuff eating up your runtime and things, and next thing you know, you've got a movie that's an hour and 45 minutes off of a 40-page script. So we're aware of that. I don't think Fear the Crimson Mask is going to be something more than, let's say, 30-some scenes kind of thing. But I do think we'll hit the 75, 80-minute mark for a film like that. There's a lot of action elements to it and things. That's in process. I do expect that to be the next film. I had mentioned Demoniac, which I think is very doable. At first, I thought I'd go away to film Demoniac, but I think that would be something where I have so much resources in. And that's set in the world of stage theater, and I obviously work, help out in stage theater around here in my area in Northwest PA. So I think it would just be best and more prudent and budget conscious to, stay home and do it. And that could be something where this AI stuff comes into play, Then we have a back shot of a woman presenting to a packed theater. You look that way, a back shot of the actress there, looking out into the audience, and boom, it's filled with AI and cheering, clapping theater people, theater patrons. So, I'd be receptive to, see what something like that would look like kind of thing. So, but yeah, Demoniac has not gone away by any means. I think it'll be an easier film to do. Some of the effects in it and special effects and things are, those would be the highlights of the film, because it's not a fight movie. It's not an action film. It's more atmospheric, a horror. But those are probably the next 2 projects, unless something just jumps out at me, and presents itself and say, hey, Len, come and do this kind of thing. But we'll see. Right now, it looks like Fear the Crimson Mask would be next. I know John Michael Thor's interested. I talked to a couple, interested cast people here and there. There's an indie actress I'm not super familiar with, so I'm a little ignorant here, but Jessie Flux is her name. I've known other filmmakers that are acquaintances of mine where they have recommended somebody like her, and I said, okay, I'll reach out to her. Very busy schedule, so we got to take that into play. Is this going to work? Kind of thing, because I have to respect every other cast member that's going to attach themselves to this picture. And if you can't do these days, but everybody else can, I can't use you. You know what I mean? So we'll see where that all shakes out. But I am sure when I get more firm dates and things for Fear the Crimson Mask, I'll be reaching out to probably Diamante and, who's still in AEW wrestling, Ring of Honor wrestling and things. I think she's a good fit for this picture. Those kinds of things, and we'll just see what's what from there kind of thing. But Fear the Crimson Mask in process. It might be even something where I shoot the very first scene of the movie well before the rest of it. And not so much proof of concept or whatever they call that shit, because, you know, if I'm going to shoot something, I'm going to effing do it. You know what I mean? But this is more like a little preview of a taste of things to come kind of thing. Not something where I'm shooting it trying to beg for money kind of thing. We'll launch an Indiegogo, see who's interested, maybe shoot the first scene. I can budget for that, get that done, make a little preview, if you will, and throw that on to the Indiegogo and see what people think and go from there kind of thing. So Fear the Crimson Mask looks like it's up next. But yeah, I was out in West Hollywood about a month ago. I filmed Thor's 50th anniversary show at the Whiskey A Go-Go. I got to meet up with other filmmakers and chat and make some connections there, which was fun. At the same time, it was really busy, so I didn't get to really do much but kind of work. Even meeting up with filmmakers, that's work, making those connections. But yeah, that was a good time. I got to talk with John Michael Thor a bit about things. His bandmate Ted Jarolicki, who's also helped out with Pact of Vengeance with the music and things like that. I did, if you have not seen Ride of the Iron Horse, the lyric video that's on YouTube, I made that with Joe from Ozone Late Night. He did some graphics for it. I did some piecing together editing work on it, and we did that for Thor. So if you look on YouTube, Ride of the Iron Horse lyric video, that's us. Me and Joe Ozone put that together for John Michael Thor there. So I hope you go check it out. It's cool. His new album's pretty fun. So Ride of the Iron Horse is the name of the album as well, I believe. So go check that out. But yeah, we were out there. I stayed a few days, met a whole bunch of people, networked, and then go from there. I know there was some light talk about, you know, filmmakers and people wanting to get together, a kind of Rock and Roll Nightmare reboot thing, I guess. I'm not really sure. But at this point, it just seems like there's just a whole bunch of people, you know, grabbing at it, trying to do it. You know, I'm not going to do that. You either want me to do it or you don't, kind of thing. But, you know, my record speaks for itself. Watch Pact of Vengeance. That's the kind of quality we'd head in that direction. Those are the kind of people I always get involved in my projects. So, you know, if you like something like that and feel that quality is in the direction you want to go, compare, contrast with other people that are interested or throwing their names out there and stuff. And there's my resume. You know what I mean? Take it or leave it kind of thing. I'm interested. I'm willing to listen kind of thing. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, while all that stuff seems tied up, you know, we're going to go forward and do Fear the Crimson Mask, I think, there. So, you know, we'll go forward with that. Got a couple emails about, you know, physical media. Where can we get your stuff, Len? I kind of got rid of my eBay store because it's such a pain in the ass. And this is going back to COVID, shutting everything down a few years ago now kind of thing. But it all seems like a blur sometimes, right? And, I mean, we still suffer from it somewhat, right? But it just became a pain in the ass to mail out everything and get to the post office and figure out all these shipping, you know, all this weird stuff that was going on with shipping at the time and all that. So I kind of closed down the eBay store. As you can see, I've got some physical media there and stuff. I don't even know what I have copies of left anymore, but I can kind of produce, you know, my own Blu-rays and DVDs and things like that. So it's something I'd consider revisiting right now with everything being so busy. It's something where, you know, I wouldn't make a batch of more than, you know, a dozen, maybe a dozen fists, a dozen curse, a dozen, you know, Challenge of Five Gauntlets, whatever it may be. My physical library is very, I mean, what you see here is probably about it. But, you know, I may get back to that, but I know the people that love physical media, but I mean, now, I mean, that's few and far between now, unfortunately. So not that I don't like it. I've got probably 800 VHS tapes in bins sitting right behind this dragon backdrop right here. So, you know, I get it. Believe me, I've got hundreds of Blu-rays and DVDs upstairs and things. But it's not super cost effective anymore, especially when I produce them on my own to get the artwork, get the box, you know, the cases and things like that. But doesn't mean I'll go back to it. But you got to be cost effective with things too, and I just don't want bins of unbought DVDs laying around my house. So you know, it's not as simple as Vistaprint where it's on demand or whatever. You know, that's a pain in the ass too. I mean, for an indie guy like me, a micro budget indie guy like me, that's a pain in the ass. So maybe revisit physical media down the road. I had mentioned, I know Sean is his name, that's helped me create these physical media, these discs and Blu-rays and things. We're kind of waiting on maybe, the technology to be able for me to print my own 4K films. I'm sure Pact of Vengeance would be up first with that, because I retained physical 4K rights to that kind of film and things. So that might be first up, or something like Blood Prism, which is very colorful. Swamp Zombies 2, very colorful movies. I'd obviously pick something like that to be first kind of thing. So if I was going to do like a 4K Ultra HD physical media thing. So, but we'll see how that goes. We'll revisit that later. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Any questions, comments, anything, leave them in Patreon, leave them in my YouTube channel on this video. Let me know what you think, especially those that have watched the upgraded, upscaled Swamp Zombies 2 to 4K that's on Patreon. Let other people know what you thought of it, kind of thing. I'd appreciate that. So, leave it out there for people to see. Check out the Patreon, sign up or subscribe to the YouTube channel here, and I will talk to everybody very shortly.